Hello, beautiful soul family. So, my name is Nicole Brown. I am owner and creator of Soul Powered Creation Healing Modality. I have my business page, Soul Powered Creation, on Facebook, and that's soul as in SOL. Um, so I am on here today to share with you about the group container that I have created for healing the mother line on 222 at 2:22 p.m. Eastern Time. So this group healing will be bringing in support to heal our mother line. So right now, there is something so powerful happening through the mother consciousness, and it's impacting literally all of humanity, including the planet. So, our beloved planet is a very divine feminine energy, and our beloved planet is Mama Earth after all. And we can see how our beloved planet is purging and clearing the collective trauma through the shadow body, through all of the earthquakes, the fires, the radical weather. And so as this is purging from the collective shadow body, it's actually coming up within, showing up within our own lives um, in very sneaky ways. So maybe subconsciously, or maybe it's showing up in our lives quite clearly. But either way, it's showing up and it's coming up to be purged and cleared out of our lives so that we can experience our reality and our relationships with each other and with this planet and with God, Source, Creator, however you identify, is that we can experience our reality in unity and oneness. And so it became blatantly obvious to me this past week, when I heard a story at work about a mother who was witnessed in a rice paddy field giving birth to her baby and then having the baby taken away from her after she gave birth to it and then being put right back to work in that rice paddy field. When I heard this story at work, I it shocked me and it went straight to my heart. And I realized in that moment, I have work to do. There is work to do as far as healing the mother line. And as the collective of humanity, we are all one. And so that shadow body, that pain of the mother who is 9 months pregnant, giving birth in a rice paddy field where she's probably enslaved, labor, and then having her baby taken from her, that pain and that suffering lives in the collective shadow body, and it impacts all of us because we are all one. And so if we, when we make the decision to collectively and individually heal that pain and that suffering, we heal it for that mother also. It had that experience um, giving birth in the rice paddy field and then having her baby taken from her and being put right back to work. So it's almost shocking to hear that. This is something that's happened in, this lifetime. And so we all are carrying the shadow body of the mother. Like we all have that shadow body of the pain and suffering of the mother expressing itself right now through the collective. And it's also the pain of the mother of seeing her children at war with each other. And, we look out at society and there's so much discord and there's so much anti-unity. The what I consider the Antichrist is anti-unity, and that is so that's so prevalent right now. And so as we make this choice collectively and individually to liberate our mother lines, we're liberating ourselves from that pain and trauma of discord, from that pain and trauma of separation, from that pain and trauma of being separated from mother, from source, from each other. And we're also bringing in deep liberation and healing for the pain and suffering of the loss of sovereignty over the fertility cycle. And when I speak on the fertility cycle, I'm speaking on the reproductive fertility cycle, like the biological reproductive fertility cycle, but I'm also speaking of um, our ability as co-creators here and now to create the lives and the realities that we desire to live, that are in organic alignment with heaven on earth. We are the co-creators of the reality that we are experiencing. We are here as God's sovereign beings co-creating this experience. And if you look out around us, we're definitely not co-creating heaven on earth. Um, but the good news is that many of us are here at this time to remember our sacred missions, to remember the truth and the power of who we are, and to restore the kingdom, to recreate heaven on earth. And that always begins within, right? And so, how open is your heart to be able to connect to heaven within? And coming to that place of openness and receptivity within to connect to heaven within will help us to birth that throughout, to birth that into our realities. And so when I speak on the fertility cycle, I'm speaking on our ability to create from a place of sovereignty and in alignment with our soul's mission and reason for being here now. So, um, so as we heal the mother line, we're healing that trauma of losing sovereignty over our fertility cycles, losing sovereignty over our physical reproductive system. So there was a time when the female um, chose when to create life. She was in full sovereign ownership of her ability to create life. And so now the female reproductive system has experienced, our biological female reproductive systems are out of alignment with the female choosing when to create life. So we have a monthly menstrual cycle, regardless of whether or not we intend to create life. And then, the female goes through a point in her life where, she loses her ability to create life. And so this was a lot like a hijacking of the fertility cycle. Our organic blueprints did not include a monthly menstrual cycle. So I know, some of you may be thinking, what? But can you imagine a life where females had sovereignty over their reproductive cycles and they could choose when to create life? Imagine that. We wouldn't have, unwanted pregnancies. There wouldn't be um, babies born to rape and all these other things. We wouldn't have a need to for abortion, and so that's a deep, deep, deep karmic shadow imprint that lives within all biological females, is that loss of sovereignty over our reproductive cycles, that loss of sovereignty over our fertility cycles. So I believe in a time, and I believe in and the possibility of a biological female having full sovereign ownership over her fertility cycle, including reproductive cycle as well. Are we there yet? Not yet, but that doesn't mean it's impossible, and it doesn't mean that's not where we're going. And so as we make this choice to heal the mother line, and I speak of all mothers, not just your biological mom, not just the maternal line. I'm speaking on all mothers, the mother of your father, your paternal line, your grandmothers, your aunts, the mother, our planet, the mother. And so we have so many, like I feel so many ancestral lines coming in to support this healing. And I also feel our ancestral lines forwards and backwards. And so this is going to be a huge liberation for the mother. So feel into the ways that the mother line that you've been born into um, has suffered, has been oppressed, has been suppressed, has experienced trauma, and feel into the ways that that could subconsciously be impacting your experience. And maybe not even subconsciously, maybe you are in awareness of patterns and ways that the trauma of the mother line is expressing through you and negatively impacting your reality. So so this healing, this group container is here for all of us to heal and release this trauma, to liberate ourselves from that shadow body, from that pain and that rage of the dark mother who is experiencing that pain and devastation and tragedy and loss, and um that rage of losing her sovereignty, of experiencing her the war and the trauma. And um so I invite you to tune in and feel into whether or not this container is aligned for you. As we clear out this trauma from the mother line, and this will be uniquely individual to every person that joins this container. So there's going to be a lot of collective shadow imprint clearing that we're all connected to, but it's also going to be very specific for your ancestral lines and what is needed for your ancestral lines. For me, for example, I have Native American background, and so I'm feeling like that trail of tears, pain, and suffering coming in. I'm feeling that loss um of being the loss of connection to the sacredness of the land and the sacredness of life, and that loss of like being misplaced, being taken from your land, losing your culture, and so and I'm feeling that trauma of our children being taken from us, like the mothers who have had their children being taken from them, um, the trauma of the mother who has had to abandon her child because she couldn't care for her child, the trauma of the mother who has lost her children, who has experienced that pain from her children dying, and so there's so much that's coming through for this, but I'm also feeling that heavy burden that the mother has been oppressed with, to like ownership, where like she hasn't been able to, where she's been sold as property, where she's lost like that ability to truly provide for herself, and has been dependent upon the support of another, the patriarchy, um and And so that impacts our sense of worth. And so then there's that aspect of the feminine that has been expected to look a certain way, be a certain way, talk a certain way, act a certain way. And so all of that just like suppresses our ability, the divine feminine's ability, and also the masculine, because we are one, right? Every soul alive is both an expression of the feminine and masculine polarity. And so think of the ways in your life where you feel like you can't fully express yourself or be authentically true to who you are. And that could very well be to the suppression that the mother line has experienced and being expected to look, be, act, talk, and do things a certain way. It can also be directly linked to the way that the feminine intuition has been suppressed, where females were tried as witches for, being in tune, connected to their intuition. So there's so many ways that this could negatively be impacting your experience, and that at its core, that dishonoring, like we're carrying that trauma of being dishonored, and neglecting that aspect of our soul that is so alive and wishes to express itself so authentically. And so there's this a fear of being rejected. Like the feminine has been so rejected in her expression of her nature. And so and feared as well. And um, so think of your ancestral lines, your mother line, like how open and receptive were they? How in tune were they to the abundant nature of who they were? Were they able to fully express their self? And can you fully express yourself? Do you feel comfortable being true to who you are? How connected are you to the abundance of all that you are? Um, how are you truly in full recognition and ownership of your worth? Do you feel valued and honored? These are all deep wounds that are coming up right now to be recognized and to clear out. So I know there's a lot of ancestral lines that are holding deep wounds, deep like trauma that has really um impacted our sense of worth. And so that can be negatively impacting your ability to feel safe, truly receiving who you are. Or truly receiving all that you desire. And there's also this guilt connected with the mother line, this guilt for choosing herself, this guilt for not being a people pleaser, this guilt for choosing her heart's desires, for receiving her heart's desires. So there's a lot of guilt connected with the mother line. So as we clear all of this out, we open ourselves up to receive, and we bring in, as we heal these layers of separation, we're bringing in that oneness, we're restoring oneness, we're restoring unity, we're healing that separation, that deep separation that occurred between mother and child, between child and source, between mother and father. And so between masculine and feminine, that deep chasm that occurred, right? And so that's surfacing in so many different ways in our life. And we're being given this beautiful opportunity to recognize it and to liberate ourselves from it and restore the unity between the masculine and the feminine polarities through the mother and the father within our own self. Restore that unity between ourself and this beloved planet that we're part of, and restore that unity between ourself and source God, and restore that unity that we have with each other. So this is going to be a really powerful container, and I'm so honored to hold this space and to have you here. And I'm so deeply honored um, to be here with you now. So if this healing is calling you, you can reach out to me on my Facebook page, Soul Powered Creation. That's SOL Powered Creation. Or you can send me an email at soulpoweredcreation@gmail.com. So that's SOL powered creation at gmail.com. I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I hope to see you on Saturday, February 22nd at 2:22 p.m. This healing is $66.66 USD exchange. If you are a Canadian or an Australian client and you're paying in Canadian currency or Australian currency, the cost is $55.55 in USD exchange. So sending you so much love and thank you for being here. I honor you.